everybody in the startup world loves the idea of disruption, but when it comes to healthcare, it's got to be responsible disruption, right? Circumventing a supply channel to increase convenience and reduce cost, that works in many, many different verticals. But in healthcare, if you're circumventing the doctor, it ceases to be healthcare. So Grin is a telehealth platform that's goal is to empower consumers by increasing convenience, transparency, affordability, and even personalization of their oral care. We exist as an app on the patient's or consumer side and as a platform on a doctor's side, thereby being able to connect the two at any time. Whenever a patient is taking a scan with Grin, and then watching their video back and seeing deep into their mouth, every tooth in their mouth, a view that they've never seen before, the first thing they do after they say cool is they turn back to me and they say, "Ooh, I really need to go for a cleaning," right? It's really just a matter of knowledge and power. And the more we know and the more we can track what's happening in our mouth, the better off we are. I'm an orthodontist. I have a practice in New York City, and this is circa 2015, where I started seeing a lot of patients coming through my doors, and unfortunately, they had been through some direct-to-consumer type orthodontic treatment, and their bites were messed up, and they had some problems going on, and it was just, happening more and more and more. And it was a given day, I think it was around 2016, 2017, where I was seeing 10 new patients that day, and 10 out of 10 were these unfortunate patients that had attempted this, direct to consumer, do my own tooth straightening from home kind of situation. And it hit me that there is a severe gap in the market whereby consumers are looking for those kind of options. So instead of saying those options are terrible, I was really looking at it as, what am I as an orthodontist doing wrong that I'm not getting the right kind of narrative out to the market of what orthodontics is, what it can do for you, how important a doctor is in that orthodontic journey. And so I started talking to groups of orthodontists because I was lecturing at the time all over the world and really sharing with them this market research that I had done locally in New York. And every single one of these patients that I had spoken to said to me one very important factor, and it wasn't price. It was actually convenience. Each and every one of them said to me, well, when I had orthodontics back when I was 7, 10, 13 years old, I remember going into the orthodontist every single month. And I don't have the time in my life now to go in every single month. Now, the reality is in my practice, I was seeing patients even back then over FaceTime and WhatsApp video and all of these other things that we were doing, but never did I actually market that to the public. Never did I actually get out there to the public and say, hey, orthodontics today can be very different than it was years ago. Just with infusing technology into the journey, we're now able to reduce the complexity and cost of orthodontic care. So that's really where it started. And looking at potential partners and looking at very, very big companies, it was always about who is really aligned with our mission to be able to not just bring an innovative solution to the market, but actually create almost a new category of better oral care than existed prior. And that's exactly what I found with P&G. I believe that the AI that we're building is going to help make that process even more streamlined and even better. And in some ways, we're going to be able to track what's happening in patients' mouths to an extent that even the human eye can't, and to find problems before they arise so that it's not about, okay, now you have to go to your dentist and there's a costly procedure that needs to be done. Rather, hey, you know what? This is starting to occur. Let's take care of that right now where it's easy to take care of, and then give you the right tools for ongoing care so that it doesn't become a larger issue. So all of these things, it's not just about increasing the accessibility, but also increasing the specificity of what we're finding and empowering the consumer to know so early and in advance. So the AI technologies that we're building, and then the data that we are collecting, to the extent that data like this has never been accomplished, has never been collected before. We're going to start having data of consumers in their home, their oral care needs, changes, wants like never before. And that's going to allow us again to create even more innovation and technology around how we can improve it to the next level. Some of the things that we're looking towards in 2022 and some of the reasons that we're going to be at CES with P&G is the more consumer-facing aspects of what we can do with Grin. So over the next, I would say, 2 quarters, we are going to be accessible to consumers directly, and then through consumers, we can then actually put you in contact with local dentists and providers. For any young CEOs, startup entrepreneurs out there, the road ahead is long, but it is extremely fun from my perspective. And when you can get to a point where you actually create inroads to companies like P&G, and you actually get your product in consumers' hands and start hearing that feedback and actually ultimately changing patients' lives, for me, I mean, all of it is worth it. So very, very difficult road, but I think anything that's worthwhile does take effort. And so that effort is almost small in comparison to what we're seeing now on the back end of all of this.